guys, Robbie46 here, and welcome to the race results and analysis for Sunday's MotoGP race at Circuit of the Americas, Austin, Texas. It was Marc Marquez who was on pole position, followed by Jorge Lorenzo in second, and Valentino was third on the grid. Would anyone be able to stop Marquez? We know he loves America. He seems to just click with all the American circuits. Jack Miller was not racing in this race as he aggravated his ankle injury in Friday when he had a crash, so he is advised not to race. But off the line, the front three, they got a pretty decent start. Rossi yet again spinning up his rear a little bit, but that was just the start of Rossi's problems. Off the line, he actually burnt out his clutch, which meant that his clutch was going to be slipping for the next few laps. Which we'll get into in a bit, but going into the first corner, Lorenzo went underneath Marquez as they both went a little bit wide. Rossi cut back and tried to get underneath them. Then there's a bit of bumping and barging between those three as they sort themselves out. Andrea Dovizioso, he was up at the sharp end, as was Alicia Spargaro on the Suzuki. Lorenzo tried doing what Rossi says you got to do to Marquez, is snap back at him straight away. Made quite a few lunges just to try and upset Marquez's rhythm. Ended up going wide himself, and actually almost crashed at one point, going onto the back straight. He went really wide into there, and as he put the power on, his rear tried almost high-siding him. His foot came off the pegs. But yeah, he got a decent drive, and that's when we noticed that Rossi had quite a big problem, because Rossi was he was second as Lorenzo went wide, and then he lost 4 places down the straight, including Lorenzo got past him, and at the time I was thinking, how the hell is that possible, because Lorenzo completely cocked up the corner before. But that was Rossi's clutch was slipping, so he couldn't get a decent drive out of corners. He's struggling to get it into gear, and just not looking good. But eventually his clutch did start coming back to him. But by that time, Marquez had quite a big lead. Lorenzo was almost in no man's land. He was fighting with Dovizioso for a little bit, got ahead of Dovi, and then pulled away from Dovi. Dovi started slipping back, as did Alicia Spargaro. And then just a few laps in, disaster for Rossi as he tipped into the second corner, pretty fast corner. The front just completely washed out, and Rossi crashed out of the race early on. Just as his clutch, he said, started coming back to him, and he started to feel better with the bike. The front went. And that is Rossi's first DNF since Aragon 2014, which is a hell of a long time. Rossi was out, which meant that Dovi and Pedrosa were now together for third and fourth. They were battling quite a lot. You had Vinales catching Alicia Spargaro as well. As Spargaro at the time, he was in about 7th place, Iannone just ahead of him. Vinales was catching Espargaro, and then those two started having quite a big battle. And then disaster for Andrea Dovizioso as he went into turn 1 on lap 6. He went a little bit wide, and Pedrosa, who was right behind him, put the brakes on. He went in a bit hot himself, but his Honda making some evil shapes, and it was just bucking and weaving under the brakes, and unfortunately Pedrosa lost the front, which meant that his bike missiled into the side of Andrea Dovizioso and took Dovizioso out. But being the gent that he is, before Pedrosa even picked up his own bike, he went over to see if Dovizioso was okay, who was hunched over on the floor, as you can imagine, being hit by a motorcycle. Dovizioso really lucky not to break his leg, because Pedrosa's bike, that's where the impact happened, right on Dovizioso's leg. Pedrosa got back on and done a few more laps, but unfortunately didn't get to finish the race. He pulled into the pits, where he went into the Ducati pit to apologise again to Dovizioso, who unfortunately had to retire from the race as well. But he was uninjured. He was able to walk away from the crash, so those two were out as well. Cal Crutchlow, he had a crash at turn 1 as well, a few laps later, and Bradley Smith at the exact same corner, pretty much the exact same time, just a little bit later. So Cal Crutchlow again having a foot race with someone else trying to pick the bikes up. And when Crutchlow got to his feet after crashing, that's when he saw Bradley Smith's Tech 3 Yamaha slide past him. They did manage to finish the race, those two, so they did remount and get going again. But back at the front, it was Marquez who was just pulling away lap after lap, bang, bang, bang. Jorge Lorenzo was second, and it was actually Andrea Iannone who was up to third now on the Ducati, and you had Maverick Vinales who had passed Alicia Spargaro, his teammate, after quite a few aggressive passes from both of them. He was now pulling away from his teammate. Bit further back, Scott Redding was battling with Pol Espargaro and was pulling away from him. You had the battle of the Aprilias a bit further back with Eugene Laverty as well. Loris Bassi actually had a crash quite early on, but managed to remount and carry on with his race. But in the end, it was Marc Marquez who took the win yet again. Jorge Lorenzo was second and Andrea Iannone third. It was Andrea Iannone's first finish in 5 races. Maverick Vinales was fourth. Alicia Spargaro took home fifth. Scott Redding was sixth. Pol Espargaro seventh. Michele Pirro, who's still standing in for Petrucci, he was eighth. Hector Barbaro was ninth. Stefan Bradl got the better of Bautista. He was 10th. Bautista was 11th. Eugene Laverty 12th. Tito Rabat 13th. Yoni Hernandez 14th. Loris Baz, who did remount, was 15th. And Cal Crutchlow was 16th. And Bradley Smith 17th. So those two not scoring points. So it was quite an eventful race, but once it got going, it was pretty clear who was going to win the race. I think it was always going to be, would anyone be able to beat Marquez? I think the answer was pretty clear from practice and that. But I think the only person that could have beaten Marquez was himself. But he didn't, and he is now got quite a decent lead in the championship. Marquez leads the way with 66 points, with Lorenzo in second with 45 points, and Rossi with only half the points of Marquez now in third with 33 points. So it's looking like Marquez is starting to put his authority on this year's championship, but the next race is at Jerez, where we should be getting an announcement from Jorge Lorenzo what he's doing next year. And yeah, we'll see how the next race goes. Anyway, guys, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave this video a like, subscribe to my channel for more content. I shall see you guys in the next video. See you!